Okay, guys, welcome to the renowned Voice of the People, 96.1 FM Abuja. Apologies for starting the show a little bit behind schedule. I'll be standing in for Gesere Agua from now on. We'll be on the arena today. We'll be looking at something very, very critical. I am Nonso Arinzechi. So, on the arena today, we'll be looking at something very critical. One of the major talking points so far in Nigeria, talking about the issue around the national aircraft, and we'll be looking at it extensively. We'll be trying to link up as well to Mr. Larry Ogwegu, who will also give us his own in-depth analysis on that issue as well. Okay, we know that one of the biggest shocking points coming in is that the issue concerning the aircraft that have been seized by the Chinese authorities. We did hear earlier today that there will be a discussion on what would happen, what would go on. We know that, of course, the Ogun State government is owing a Chinese company, Zhongchen, $74.5 million, and has been evading payment. Now, a French court has given order that the 3 presidential jets that is too earlier put up for sale and the new one recently purchased be seized. The seizure is a result of the government's failure to honor a $74.5 million award granted to Zhongzhan by an independent arbitral tribunal chaired by the president of the UK Supreme Court. The court also ordered restrict the movement, sale, or purchase of the job onto the court until a certain Zhongzhan receives the awarded amount, leaving the Nigerian government facing consequences for the action of its subnational entity. Reacting to that is a certain David Hudein. Yes, this is what he had to say. He posted this on his official handle and social media handle, and he said, "As far as I'm aware, Nigerian presidential car has always been a Mercedes-Benz Maybach Air-Class, as leased in the Fourth Republic. Since when did the for lack of word, I don't want to use that exact word, change it to a Cadillac Escalade, another show of faulty to the American handlers." Okay, let's see whether we can reach out to Mr. Larry, if he can give us his 2 cents on all the information that is going down with the private, the Nigerian vehicles, and of course not forgetting the private jet issues. I'm trying to link up with Larry, if we can get to him, and if I can let him give us his 2 cents on the issues concerning our official vehicles, and of course the private jet that has been seized. Okay, good morning, Mr. Larry, and welcome to the arena on Voice of the People, 96.1 from Abuja.
Good morning. Good morning, Arinze. My pleasure and privilege to part of this conversation. Good morning, Abuja, and good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, like I did say earlier, once again, apologies. Once again, I did say apologies on the show for not starting the show a bit behind schedule. Okay, guys, let's come to Larry. Let's go straight to action. The private jet we talked about earlier on has been seized. We hear that the federal government is going to begin negotiations today. They're to round table, and also the issue concerning the vehicle. A certain David Hudein has come in as well to bring his own 2 cents, and according to him, he's saying it's a show of faulty to American handlers. What's your take on this whole issue concerning the national presidential car, and of course the jet that was seized by the Chinese government?
First of all, I think the elephant in the room is the seizure of 3 presidential jets. 2 of them are supposed to be and one is a new jet that has not even been delivered. The first thing I want to point out is that Nigeria has one of the largest presidential fleets in the world.
Okay.
The truth is that 2 of those planes can actually be used for commercial purposes. A Boeing 737 can be used for commercial purposes. And that tells you that for a nation that doesn't have an airline, while Ethiopia is reaping massive dividends from ET, and Singapore is reaping massive dividends from Singapore Airlines, and we use what should have been our airline to fly people around in the name of presidential fleet. It gives a sour taste in my mouth. I've always complained about the fact that we have a very large presidential fleet and we don't know how it is managed. That's another thing that we're not talking about. For instance, two of the planes in the presidential fleet were put up for sale. Nobody park an aeroplane. There are parking fees. In fact, anything that concerns a plane is expensive. So when you don't make proper arrangements to sell this plane and you take it to France and you park it somewhere, somebody is preparing to scam us to explain to us, oh, we sold it for this $1 million, less parking fees, less this, less that. What is wrong with selling the aeroplane from Nigeria? I mean, at least if we are paying parking fees, if we have to pay, we pay ourselves the parking fees. But there is this tendency for everything we do to be shrouded in secrecy so that corruption can thrive. It's sad. And then we are buying a new presidential jet, and without even having used the plane, it's enmeshed in a scandal, and we can't even take the lead of the plane as we speak. And that tells you that we have a government that is totally and absolutely insensitive to the plight of the ordinary Nigerian. And you can't stop talking about it. We have become a basket case of a nation. We have become a 1 week trouble of a nation. And it's really sad that nobody's even telling us the cost of prosecuting this matter. They traveled to UK to negotiate with Johnson about this controversial matter. And we were informed now through the media that a large contingent of Nigerians went for the negotiation. We know what that means. If a large contingent of Nigerians go for a negotiation, let us just assume, for the purpose of this, on 8 tickets alone, you're talking of 30 million naira. And then you're talking of ESTA code for 15 persons. You're talking of fees, consultancy fees, you're talking of professional fees to lawyers in pound sterling or US dollars. If you look at the number of cases that have been prosecuted in this matter and legal representations and negotiations, you begin to ask yourself, why are we like this? I mean, why did you get into this part, this situation where you are wasting our resources discussing something that could have been avoided? Why do we draft agreements that always land us in trouble? Basically because of corruption. How come we cannot have a central body that will vet every international agreement, whether it's by a state or a local government area or a parastatal or a ministry or the federal government? Why can't we have a body that will look at that agreement and check whether there are booby traps in the agreement? Because very often, Nigerians unfortunately compromise our interests for the benefit of the foreign contractors for personal gain. We know these things. Why can't we stop them?
Okay.
We have a very bad. We have a very bad situation here. It's embarrassing. Okay. That is, it's a huge national and international embarrassment. It makes us out as irresponsible people, and then we are shopping for investors. Of course, a lot of investors should be wondering, is that a good place to invest?
Okay, the federal government of Nigeria has accused the Chinese government and of course the Chinese company, I beg your pardon, Zhanghai Fanzheng Industrial Investment, of sabotage. They said that this is after a French court has ruled in favor of the firm, granting the seizure of the private jet. Do you buy into the idea of the federal government? Is this sabotage, or is it just a company trying to recoup back the money that is being owed?
I don't see how it is sabotage. Your famous Bayananoga also said that it's anti-twisting tactics and all kinds of baloney. But these guys already have been able to place a lien on your properties in the United Kingdom. You didn't do anything about it. At least you didn't tell us you did anything significant about that. While we are just playing games with that and doing propaganda, they placed a lien on 3 of your aeroplanes. And you are here telling us stories about arm twisting and sabotage and all kinds of stories that don't just make sense. We are discussing a contract here. We are discussing respectable arbitration panels taking decisions. The question becomes, at what cost? Nobody's even telling us the cost of all this gallivanting. And then they got they got judgment. That is the arbitration panel rather ruled that they should be paid. Have you been able to appeal or vacate that decision by the arbitration panel? And if it's not subject to being vacated, what steps are you taking? We are going back to the, I think it's P&ID case, one of those and it has become a storm in a national. We consistently get into trouble for situations that could have been either avoided or better managed, because some people may not want this problem to be solved, so that they'll be going for meetings, they'll be going for sittings. They will not. In fact, if we are not careful, we may eventually more than the $74 million pursuing the issue of stopping them from paying us the money. I think somebody should also tell us, is there a strategy for solving this problem? What is the cost of the strategy? What is the cost benefit analysis? I mean, they're asking for this amount. Are we going to spend more than that amount, whatever is remaining of it, or at least separate amicably? Are we really sincere about pursuing this matter? I mean, we have not shown any serious resolve until now, because Nigerians didn't even know that there was a problem. It is because they were able to impound our presidential planes that suddenly we are talking about it and accused them of altruism and all of that. So why was the contract cancelled? Nobody has told us specifically why. It was cancelled. Who got into the contract and what are the terms? Nobody has told us.
Okay, let's just stick with the federal government a bit. The government are saying that the private jets are sovereign assets and are immune for seizure. Is it the right thing to say in this point at this point where they should be negotiated? But the federal government saying it's immune, and it's a blow on the national on their national independence. What do you think?
They should also realize that the people who pronounced the seizure, if you call it that, they didn't actually say that they are doing anything in terms of seizing. They said it cannot be moved. Okay, to that extent, you can call it seizure. But what they are saying is that it should be collateral for the debt. That is precisely what they said. So they are saying, come and pay the money and then you can move your plane. They even said it should pack in such a way that it cannot take flights, which means that they are suspecting that Nigerians can think of taking the plane illegally, though there is an order on the plane. And that suggestion that it should be packed in such a way that it cannot be taken away in a surreptitious manner tells you how they think of us as a people. But having said that, I think we need to begin to ask questions like, even if you are a sovereign nation, and you have diplomatic immunity, how do you use it? Do you abuse it? Do you assume that because you have that immunity that you do what you like? You should realize that the people who made this pronouncement after arbitration are legal professionals too. They are aware of existing international standards in arbitration. That is why they qualify to arbitrate in the first place. So that is Nigeria's opinion. I'm not in a position to say they are wrong, because they said that they will test the decision in court, and they are free to do so. That is their opinion. But you don't win cases on the pages of newspapers or on social media. You win cases in court or in arbitration. So I think what they should do is to dust up their case files and go for their own turn to make their case. So I think that is what we should be doing at this time. But part of what I'm still talking about is at what cost. Eventually, we may wriggle out of this and celebrate. Oh, we told you that they are but the question is, at what cost? Could it have been avoided? Must we spend our scarce foreign exchange flying to different countries to discuss a failed contract? Why did the contract fail? The spokesperson for the federal government said that they just put up a fence, a perimeter fence, and they're asking for so much money. No, the perimeter fence is not just. And in any case, they're not asking for the money as a refund for fencing. It's a breach of contract that they're talking about. So the question is, what are the terms in the contract? That is, what does the contract say that will happen if there is a breach? And under what circumstances do you consider certain actions a breach? These are the questions. We have been very irresponsible. We have been involved in very controversial situations with Ajokuta Steel Company, that Ajokuta Steel Mill, with the other time with the steel mill in Delta State, with P&ID, with all kinds of cases, which suggests that very often we make choices on the basis of personal gain and not national interest. We have brilliant legal professionals in Nigeria, scattered all over the world. I'm not just talking of those in Nigeria. We have brilliant legal minds in different parts of this planet called Earth who are doing well. So how can't we just draft agreements that will protect our interests while protecting the interests of the other, or the contractor or the other party? Why can't we do that? Basically because of corruption.
Okay.
Basically because of corruption. It happens every day.
Okay, let's now look at it. Let's move forward. The Labour Party candidate for the presidential election in 2023 posed Peter Obi an international embarrassment, and he demanded a full explanation. Do you agree that the federal government should fully explain to us what the whole debacle is all about? And do you think this is, in your own take, is this an international embarrassment?
It's obvious because the plane is in France, and I mean the company is a Chinese company.
Yeah.
The properties have been seized beyond and beside the plane. Properties have been seized in the United Kingdom. So it's a huge international embarrassment. We are shopping for foreign investors, and then we are having this controversial case with a foreign investor. So it's an international embarrassment. As a matter of fact, on the issue of bearing all the facts, telling us everything, that is even belated. They should have told us before now. I mean, we are the owners of Nigeria. Nigeria belongs to Nigerians. The people who are running Nigeria are running Nigeria on our behalf. In other words, if you Nigeria for 4 years to you, that is, you are holding power in trust for the people. So you can't just make choices and not tell us about the things that concern us. It's our presidential jet, not your own. You are president for 4 years. If you are not elected, you leave. Another president takes over the presidential jet, which tells any right-thinking person that is not a personal property, it's a national asset. And we need to know. So we should have been told, if we are in a place where things work properly, when problems like this arise, the relevant stakeholders should know, the media should know, and the people will also know. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, everything appears to be an opportunity for personal illicit gain. So very often they don't tell anybody, and then when it becomes a mess like this, and we now get to know, they will start making excuses. P2B is right in saying that they should do full disclosure. They should tell us everything that has transpired. They should even tell us how much they paid for the new jet and what it was doing there. If you buy a new jet, you should take delivery. So how long has it been there? Why didn't they take delivery? Is there another controversy that we don't know about? They should tell us everything, not just about the fact that the planes were apparently seized. But the question is, even the new plane, what was it doing there? We know that the other two, that's the total, the other two are supposed to be up for sale. But the big question now is, so the one that was just purchased, what is it doing there? And the ones that are up for sale, how come they didn't tell us they were selling our assets? What is the condition of the plane? Because if you are selling assets, you can sell them as scrap for pittance, which is what they will tell us. But you can also, I mean, it flew to France. Remember, they didn't tow it to France. It's not a car. They didn't carry it on their head. They didn't put it on the ship. It flew to France. So we need to have that full disclosure. Even the ones who want to sell, what's the state of the planes? What steps are you taking to sell it successfully? Why in France? What are you paying as parking fees? In other words, what will be the total cost of sales? Are there commissions? What are the commissions? It's not after now you sell the plane for maybe $20 million and then you write off $19 million as cost of sale and give us $1 million. We need full disclosure on all of the issues concerning the aeroplanes, not just the seizure. We also need to know all these other hidden facts.
Okay, let's take a little move away from the private jet issues, and let's talk about a certain video that have been trending across the social media space, where the president departed Abuja for Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, and he was in a Cadillac Escalade, and then like I did say earlier on the show, the certain David Hudain, looking at the picture, reacted with a post. And this is what he had to say. He said, as far as I'm aware, the Nigerian presidential car has always been a Mercedes-Benz Maybach S-Class, at least in the Fourth Republic. Since when did the, I don't use the word he used, change it to a Cadillac Escalade, another show of fealty to these American handlers? Now, this is coming just weeks after the vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, has described the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as a modest person who does not believe in extravagance. What's your take on this issue?
The first thing I want to start, you were talking about the extravagant lifestyle, and that's what you wanted to comment on, right?
Exactly.
But I want to start from the fact that if we are going to develop an automobile industry, we should begin to think about even using a Nigerian vehicle for our president. Someone should wonder, how? Am I okay? Yes, I'm very okay. A vehicle is about the brand. Some vehicles you see don't actually even carry the engine of the company. That there are vehicles that have the brand name, but the engine is made by another company.
Okay.
There's a company that was called Sanyong, and they were using engines from Mercedes-Benz and some other companies to power their vehicles. What I'm trying to say is that, assuming we are able to promote automobile manufacturing in Nigeria, and we have a special fund for that, and we are just wasting time, one of the things we can do is to actually even make a special brand. Now, for obvious reasons, it won't work in Nigeria. That is, even if the president says, oh, I want to do it, they will say, so which company are you going to use? Is it the Igbo man's company, Yoruba man's company, Hausa man's company? That may be part of your challenge, because you have harder challenges in Nigeria. But sometimes I will also even develop strange solutions to strange problems. So you can say, okay, have a fleet that includes all of the, if you get to that point and it's a problem. But ordinarily, what I'm saying is that we need to get to that point where we shouldn't take pride in promoting foreign brands. Whether it's a Mercedes-Benz or a Cadillac Escalade, the point I'm making is that we are just getting more customers for these countries and for their products. Because when you use a certain vehicle as the president of Nigeria, you'll be surprised that some billionaires in Nigeria will go and buy that vehicle just to show that they are doing well. And they're using the same vehicle that Mr. President is using. And that will put pressure on our foreign exchange too. They will buy it just for sure. If you switch to Escalade, they will also go and buy the Escalade to show that they're doing well. And that, it is like a go for sure. Yes, we can meet up with what the president is driving.
But speaking sorry to cut you short a bit there. We do have a brand in Nigeria that produces motor vehicles, and if you listen to some of the presidential aid, they keep repeating buy Nigeria to grow Nigeria. But it seems like it's far distance from the practice, especially from the presidency.
Well, yes. Let me also point out that there's a brand called Tata that is made in India. When Tata started, it was laughable. Even the Indians were laughing at the company. Okay. Today, Tata is a major global automobile brand selling in the United States. They sell military vehicles, they sell civilian vehicles. They have showrooms and outlets in almighty America. But Tata started like a joke. So I think we need to get to that point where we understand that some of the brands that Nigerians don't take too seriously now, that we have a Innocent brand, we have a few other Nigerian brands, are a fund that was supposed to use to drive development of the automobile industry. But we're a country that somehow, because of quick gain and benefit, we don't really get to settle down and develop our industries. We had the advantage when we had Peugeot Automobile and Volkswagen in Nigeria. And where are they now? Today, we import vehicles from South Africa. Most of us do not know that South African Mercedes assembly plant exports vehicles to different parts of the world. They make more than 100,000 units of Mercedes Benz every year in next door South Africa. Toyota has a major plant in South Africa. We import some of our SUVs. In fact, when Nigerian police imported Prado SUVs, they came from South Africa. And Nigeria, that had a head start in the automobile industry, and we're actually increasing the local components, we suddenly woke up and we're not serious. We really never want our politicians focus on to begin to think of what will be beneficial for Nigeria. We should be thinking 50 years ahead. Some countries are thinking 100 years ahead. We're not even thinking 5 years ahead. These guys are thinking only 4 years ahead, and they're thinking only about elections. Not economy, not education, not health, just election. So after one election, they're thinking of the next mess. Can we have Nigerian brands? We should be. Yes, we can build Nigerian brands. Remember that during the Biafran War, the Biafrans actually made their own military equipment. That is, they did wonders in creating, while there was an economic blockade, they didn't have the opportunity to import. They created amazing military equipment that could have made Nigeria a net exporter of military hardware. What happened? Nigeria shut down the whole ingenuity after the war. Rather than say, okay, what good can come out of this war experience? Yes, we have reconciled. So can we harness the potential? These guys showed resilience. They showed ingenuity. So can we tap into that ingenuity and become a better and bigger nation? The answer is no. So we don't make choices properly as a nation. We don't get people who have demonstrated capacity to make good choices to lead us. We don't even, that is why we are asking all these questions. Why should we be promoting, arguing about whether it's lax in any nation in the world? We are the leaders of the black race, and we don't have one car brand that they are buying airline. But look at what APC is doing. And then instead of getting support, before now, the present minister is doing well in terms of fighting for what belongs to us. But before now, what was he getting? Even while the minister is trying to help AP, some people are, you know, the scandal about being, if you want to put it simply, sabotaged even in Nigeria. So we have a national problem. We shouldn't be promoting other people's vehicle brands. We shouldn't move from Mercedes to Cadillac. We should be thinking, how can Mr. President buy Nigeria? Go to Asorok, go to a government house in Nigeria. Sorry, but journalists should also engage in some of these investigative reports, ordinary reports that make a lot of sense. How many governors use locally made furniture?
Okay,
how many governors use locally made furniture? Something as simple as furniture. Why must you buy furniture from Turkey and China when Nigerians are making world-class furniture in Nigeria?
Okay, that's we would want us to, you know, get Nigerians to begin to use made-in-use products. Do you think that they produce but export? Because, like you said, we do have motor manufacturing company here in Nigeria, but it seems that the Nigerian followership is a bit low. So how can we get an enabling environment where made in Nigerian products, especially our vehicles, just like we were talking about, begin to thrive and Nigerians begin to embrace it?
But that is where the government should come in again. Let me explain how some of these things work. We have Innocent, for instance, as a vehicle brand. If the government decides to patronize Innocent and some other brands, what will happen is that they will sell vehicles in thousands. Another thing that will happen is that the brand will become visible in Nigeria. One other thing that will happen is that they will be compelled by virtue of that contract to set up training centers for automobile mechanics and engineers to fix their vehicles. Another thing that will happen is that they will set up maintenance facilities across Nigeria. Go and check. Most brands, the big brands, don't mind Nigeria. We have a few in Port Harcourt, Lagos, Abuja, and other. In America and other places, all major brands have maintenance facilities across the country so that you can maintain your car properly. And when these things begin to happen, you notice that we will have a proper brand. They will understand how to manage not just the production, but customer care, they're taking care of the cars. They'll give you warranty, 300,000 kilometers or 3 years. They begin to compete on global terms. And once we support them and they are now able to capture the Nigerian market, then they can focus on the West African sub-region. They can focus on the West African market. And government can do much more than give you money. Oh, we have the automotive fund that used to encourage automotive, and then they just give them money. You know, we throw money at everything. Every problem we have in this country, we just haul money at it. And naturally, the money goes down the hole. We need to get to that point where we have proper support. Now, you talked about enabling environment. It's up to us to create an enabling environment. You know, we used to have industrial estates in Nigeria, all over Nigeria. Under the eastern region state at MN, there are industrial estates created across the country. You have the free trade zones, you know, you have export processing zones. So you can put taxation. If you are in an export processing zone, nobody will come there to knock and say, this is my local government, that you have to pay me for washing your car, you have to pay me for this, and nobody will do that, because the export processing zone is a protected zone. So we can also set up industrial estates that will have uninterrupted power supply. You can have a gas a turbine plant that will supply that industrial estate. So if we are serious about industrial development, we can do these things. The problem is that we have leaders who don't even think about these solutions, because the most of them are not people who are solution thinkers, who are solution providers, who have been able to prove their mettle in different establishments. Many of our leaders are men and women with controversial backgrounds. When they come into governance, they report to people with controversial backgrounds and questionable character. So you cannot lead your boss. Your boss leads you. So when we get to that point where we want to fix Nigeria, we begin to actually create some of these zones, and by the time we create them and protect industry, and the industries begin to grow, after some time you notice that it will become fashionable. The power plants may generate more power than the industries can use, so they will give some to SMEs, they will sell some to the community, and before you know what is that, that's how India started. India was a poor country. Nigeria as a nation had better prospects than India. But today, yes, while you still have a lot of poor people in India, they are doing very well. They are going to space. They are competing with the United States, China. They are holding their own. In fact, Hyderabad is one of the IT. They are competing with Silicon Valley. The talent pool in India is shocking Americans and the world. But they came from a background like Nigeria's background. That is the truth of the matter. But they worked at it, and they are still working at it. What are we doing? What have we done? Nothing, absolutely. We are just a poor country pretending to be rich. God endowed us with wealth, but we have mismanaged our wealth, like the sons of some rich men who are irresponsible. You know, they have the potential to leverage on the wealth their parents left for them to be wealthy, but they squander it. So that's what Nigeria is doing. God bestowed us with wealth, oil, solid minerals, arable land, human capital, but we have squandered everything, and we are still squandering. Okay. That's the problem we have. That's why we're telling stories about whether we are driving American cars or we are driving German cars. Why can't we drive our own cars? Okay. Who said we can't?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Larry, for all your take. But this is where we'll call it a wrap on this conversation for today. We'll continue more of this on Monday. Thank you very much, Mr. Larry, for all your 2 cents on these issues.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure and privilege to talk with you today. And I hope Nigerians are listening to the voice of the people. We shouldn't stop.
Okay,
we'll continue this and one day we'll fix it. Yeah. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Hopefully Nigeria will be great again. Unfortunately, don't forget the games will continue today in the top 5 leagues in Europe. We hear the La Liga has begun yesterday. The top 5 league will begin today, except the Bundesliga that will begin next weekend. So all these and more will come by 5 p.m. during the Sport Lounge, where we'll take you all the world round of sports. Okay, thank you very much for being part of the arena for today. Keep listening to Voice of the People, 96.1 FM Abuja. I am Nonso Arinzechi. Up next is Ogendibo. For me, enjoy the rest of the programming, and bye for now.